To the coronavirus, no new deaths were reported in Houston from COVID-19, and that was the big headline from city leaders on Tuesday, but they warn now is not the time to let your guard down. Here are the latest numbers from our area. There are now more than 7,600 confirmed cases in the Houston region, which is about 200 more than the day before, but Houston only added 20 new cases yesterday. And again, no new deaths were reported. Statewide, we're now just under 20,200 cases and 517 deaths.
Starting today, patients waiting for surgery will finally be allowed to have their procedures done. Janelle Fort has that story.
Yeah, Xavier, today the next phase of Governor Greg Abbott's plan to reopen Texas rolls out. Starting this morning, some medical procedures will be allowed to resume. There are stipulations, though, and many doctors admit there is still a lot of confusion. We know procedures can only be performed at licensed healthcare facilities. That includes 24-hour emergency rooms, abortion clinics, and drug rehabs. But dental clinics are left out. The biggest thing is that procedures and surgeries cannot interfere with the fight against COVID-19. In order to get the green light, specific conditions must be met. The procedure cannot compromise hospital capacity or deplete facilities of PPEs. At least 25% of beds must be set aside for coronavirus patients at all times, and facilities where the surgeries are performed must first pledge they will not ask the government for extra protective equipment at any time for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. Patients are being tested for the virus before surgeries, and hospitals say they will take a measured approach. Some will start slowly with things like MRIs and mammograms before cautiously making their way to performing surgeries. Back to you.
Okay, Janelle, thank you. Right now, falling oil prices put a heavy burden on state and local officials, all searching for a solution as thousands of energy jobs could be at risk. On Monday, the price of crude oil fell below zero, fueled by a serious decrease in demand as Americans stay home. Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher filed a bill that would allow the federal government to buy $3 billion worth of crude oil. That purchase would help producers while replenishing the nation's petroleum reserve.
That President Trump has said he would like to do, but the Department of Energy can't buy oil for the petroleum reserve unless Congress appropriates the money. So that's what we're working to do now, and I'm very optimistic.
Experts say major moves will need to happen to avoid massive layoffs, furloughs, and bankruptcies. And remember to vote in our live survey. We want to know what you think. Should oil companies get federal funds to help save jobs? You can vote now on khou.com/vote-now or on our mobile app.
An unwelcome sight around the city, and the IRS set a deadline for non-filers. Your rush block, it continues, starting with a deal reached in Washington. Democratic lawmakers and White House negotiators landed on a nearly $500 billion stimulus package. A big chunk of that money will help boost small businesses. It now goes to the House. A vote could come as soon as tomorrow.
If you receive government benefits and don't normally file taxes, the IRS says they may need more information from you for your stimulus payment. And the deadline to send that info in is tomorrow.
Getting back to work, Governor Abbott is urging Texans to look for job openings at workintexas.com. He says there are 481,000 jobs posted statewide. Abbott also announced a new pilot program for SNAP or food stamp recipients to buy groceries online. A new free testing site opened in Brazoria County. It's set up at the county fairgrounds in Angleton. The site will be open today through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's only open until 2 p.m. Saturday and will be closed Sunday. If you want to be tested, you must be pre-screened. A growing problem in parking lots, people tossing their plastic gloves on the ground while others take it upon themselves to pick up their trash. Health experts warn that is a bad idea.
If someone were to pick them up from the parking lot grounds or if they're at a park, that person can actually then get the virus on themselves.
Experts say you need to properly throw away your PPE gear. And that's your Rush Block on this Wednesday morning.
Texans are fired up about Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's choice of words when he explained the effort to reopen Texas in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. On Fox News, he said, quote, "There are more important things than living." Here's the whole thing.
There are more important things than living, and that's saving this country for my children and my grandchildren and saving this country. for all of us. And I don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. But man, we got to take some risk and get back in the game and get this country back up and running.
He referenced an interview last month when he implied he'd rather die from the coronavirus than see the economy destroyed. And you guys sounded off on our Facebook page when we shared his comments. Monty agrees with the lieutenant governor, saying anyone who's willing to make sacrifices for their family and grandkids is good in my book. And Sandra admits she might be a little selfish, but she says her family is financially dying and we might have a chance if the state is reopened. Phineas does not think that's necessary. He says we'll rebuild like we always have before. And Tammy is not having it, asking, do we really have a healthy economy if massive amounts of people are sick and can't go to work? That's something you hope state and local leaders are weighing as we move forward. Steph?
Brandy, a lot of people on both sides of that. Thank you. Well, we just told you about a potential bill to allow the government to buy billions in crude oil. It would help producers and also replenish the nation's strategic oil reserve. But what is the reserve? Stephanie Whitfield connects the dots.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, nearly 715 million barrels of oil, is the world's largest supply of emergency oil, and some of it is sitting in our backyard. Let's connect the dots. Stored along the Gulf Coast in a series of huge underground salt caverns, the reserve is America's energy insurance policy in times of uncertainty. Think Hurricane Katrina in 2005 or before Operation Desert Storm in 1991. It was created in response to the 1973-74 oil embargo. Now, with oil prices plummeting, President Trump is thinking about topping off the strategic reserve on the cheap. The Department of Energy says the average price paid for oil already in the reserve is roughly $30 per barrel. So right now, taxpayers could fill up for bargain basement prices. And the president says he'd like the U.S. to buy 75 million barrels, nearly all the spare room in the reserve. But there's one holdup to the plan. The president needs Congress to sign off. And it's already chosen not to once when it passed the first coronavirus economic relief package. Connecting the dots, I'm Stephanie Whitfield for H-Town Rush.
Steph, thank you. And if you want more information on COVID-19, we have the latest information for you on our website. Just head to khou.com/coronavirus.